everyone. How are you guys doing today? Many of you guys may be feeling a lot of things about this topic. So, again, it's a very controversial topic, but guys, hear me out. I will have a perspective on this. And it's something that, from my own experience, I would say it's true. But let me break through it for you. Why I believe our divine masculine, or even my divine masculine, be maybe more awakened than you would ever think. So, again, beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. To all the new subscribers, a very warm welcome. And to those who have been with me since the start, thank you for holding this journey with me. And I am so happy to see so many of you all getting into stable unions. And truly, that's what makes me so happy, soul fulfilling. I feel like I'm doing soul fulfilling work. So today we're going to look at something that might shake up the way you've been thinking about your twin flame connection, because we have heard the narrative all the time. The divine feminine is more awakened, and the divine masculine is behind, asleep, or avoiding. In fact, from my other discourses, I don't even like to use the word awakened, the past tense. I like to say awakening, because there is never an end to this awakening journey. But here's my question for you: what if that's not actually true? What if your divine masculine is actually more awakened than you think? Maybe even more awakened than you in certain ways, but it's showing up in a form you don't recognize. So let me set the scene, the frame a little, all right? Now, I know for some of you it's a triggering thought. You probably like, especially because our divine masculine pushes us to the core, can totally annoy us, totally make us feel like nothing is real, nothing is true. So it's very triggering. So again, watch this discourse with a brave heart. And because you've been through separation, you've done the inner work, maybe you are the one reading the books, meditating, watching videos like this, and he seems to be like he's off in another world. But remember, the awakening isn't linear. It's not a ladder with you 5 rungs ahead and him scrambling to catch up. It's a multi-dimensional unfolding, and different aspects of the soul wake up in different orders for different people. You following me there with this? Just give me a moment. Sorry, that was the work stuff. So, as I was saying, multidimensional unfolding. All right. And different aspects of the soul wake up in different orders for different people. And that's why being a monadic divine feminine, remember, you cannot compare your journey to anyone. Like, really. That's why, I share some parts of my journey, but I will never share all parts of my journey, because our journeys are too unique, and for monadic twin flames, we don't have a set path. It's truly our higher selves orchestrating a lot of things, and of course with the blessings of cosmic consciousness. So that's why it's not a ladder or a competition or comparison. So that's why awakening isn't linear. So let's break this down, all right? You may have higher activation in some areas, like our psychic abilities are much more open. We have deep emotional language. We have a better understanding of the third energy, and you know how to feel into the field. But he may be far, and not he may be, in my own personal experience, my divine masculine is more further anchored in other areas. So that's why I'm saying your divine masculine may be far more anchored in other areas. First, truth discernment. He instantly knows when something's off energetically, even if he doesn't have the spiritual words for it. Sovereignty. He doesn't get pulled into as many glamour fields or emotional traps. So let's look a bit into how he manages the 3D world, all right? He might manage the physical world with a steadiness you're still integrating. So that's the reason why, you know, I want to talk more about our divine masculine's hidden alignment. In many cases, our divine masculine is already operating from a more awakening template. It just hasn't labeled it as spiritual. And signs, so look for signs like this, all right? Refusing to engage with people or situations that feel wrong to him, walking away from karmic chaos, like without being guilt tripped back in, knowing what to knowing when to stay, what to say, knowing when to stay still because the timing isn't right, even if it looks like avoidance to you. Like, for example, a lot of things that our divine masculine does not only awakens us, the divine feminine, awakens him to. Example, he's a yes person, he says yes to everybody. He'll be probably saying the first no to you. Of course, he will admit it later, but you see, it's about how we awaken each other in the most beautiful, but can be stressful sometimes too. So that's why this is what I would call very advanced awareness. Your divine masculine is prioritizing the integrity of the field over instant gratification. So he rather be in union with you when he's stable than unstable. So that's why your question may be, why does he appear less awakened? So from your perspective, he might look like he's not doing the work because he's not, like, let's say, journaling about the connection. He's not recognizing the connection. He's not like watching twin flame stuff, or not even like owning it, or he's not talking about spirituality. Or that's why they always come across as atheists. They'll be like, they're an atheist, they don't believe in past lives, they don't believe in anything. But here's the truth: awakening isn't about the props, it's about the embodiment. He may not be lighting candles and pulling oracle cards, but he's living the codes in real time. And he might do a lot of things that you don't even know about. Sometimes our divine masculine is already awake enough to know that your field isn't stable yet, and rather than jump into union prematurely, as I was just saying, he waits. So I want you to, like, really ask yourself this question. All right, where have I assumed he's behind me, and where might he actually be ahead of me? And I want you to drop that in the comments if you feel called. And as I continue this discourse, I want you to look into this, the risk of underestimating your divine masculine. If you hold the belief that you're already ahead and he's behind, it can create a teacher student energy dynamic. The dynamic collapses polarity because now you are the knower and he's the learner. And union needs two equals in their power. It also means you might overlook the ways he's guiding you. Yes, guiding you. Not through spiritual lectures, but through the way he anchors, set boundaries, or holds stillness in the face of chaos. So, how do you shift into seeing him as an awakening counterpart, even if he's not showing it in the way you expect? I want you to first recognize his soul intelligence. Acknowledge the areas where he's already living in truth. Observe his mastery. He may be teaching you a lot of things about stability, drawing boundaries with people, not being, you know, totally emotional, he will teach you a lot about drawing boundaries, because as divine feminines, often, we read too much of the field, and we recognize our divine counterpart as our divine husband. We start acting like the divine wife. You require a lot of space, but he teaches us that, hey, even though you're divine husband, and I mean, he's your divine husband and you are the divine wife, it's okay to have boundaries, patience, without saying a word. So another thing is, you have to meet him in frequency, not form. Honor the difference in your awakening expressions without assuming who is superior, right? And you may ask me, why does this matter for like union, stable union? Of course, if you're always waiting for him to wake up, you'll keep holding union as a future event instead of a living frequency. When you acknowledge that he's already awake in his own ways, the field between you relaxes. And relaxed fields are magnetic fields. So I've had clients tell me, "Oh, my DM is not spiritual at all. He literally said he's an atheist. He never meditates. He doesn't have any kind of spiritual practice. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. But he always knows when I'm upset, even if I don't tell him. Or he doesn't believe in astrology, but naturally he would be like switched off during a full moon or Mercury retrograde, and he would refuse. Like, he would be doing a lot of things without even acknowledging it's a cosmic event, like starting projects, or being guided by his inner radar, his gut. So that's awakening in action, just without the label. So I want you to take a moment to reframe your own role. Instead of thinking, I have to lead him, try, I get to meet him where he's already awake, and let that activate me too. Because sometimes the divine masculine's path is less about chasing enlightenment and more about embodying truth quietly and steadily. So that's why the myth that the divine masculine is always asleep is one of the biggest illusions in the twin flame space. Sometimes he may be holding the architecture of the union the whole time. You just couldn't see it because it didn't look like your awakening. So that's why you have to really, 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 like I had mentioned, look in terms of frequency. Sometimes certain behaviors of him comes from an unconscious perspective, but our higher selves are orchestrating it so that we'll awaken each other. So he may dismiss, he may dismiss your clairvoyance, for example, or he may dismiss your perspective on life itself. He may be like, hey, I don't believe in past lives. Hey, I'm an atheist. Hey, I'm this, I'm that. I don't believe in God. And then he will probably have his own belief, because you see, I'm not talking about the human version of god. I'm talking about cosmic consciousness. I'm talking about everything here. So our divine masculine, even in my own experience, I would say that my divine masculine has really, really assisted me in so many ways of, like, you see, it's so easy to be carried away by a lot of things. So you need someone who is there to ground us sometimes. So our divine masculine, when he doesn't acknowledge astrology or past lives, he's helping us to remember, hey, it's beyond all of that. It's beyond, because he's also connecting to the level of cosmic consciousness, the egg, where you were first separated as monadic twin flames. So sometimes you don't need all of these validations, to to feel what you're feeling, or to go through what you're going through. So our divine masculine actually pushes us for us to awaken. And that's why in a real twin flame journey, it's always about evolution and awakening, contrary to other relationships. That's why, even though you may feel, hey, I feel like I'm not going anywhere, actually you're going everywhere, because every action of our divine masculine only brings us to the next place. And guys, please, if this video has shifted your perspective, let me know in the comments. Have you seen moments when your divine masculine surprised you with this awareness? half awareness, full awareness. I'd love to hear your stories. It will really help this beautiful divine feminine community we are building here see the bigger picture. So, if you want to go deeper into a specific connection, book a one on one twin flame psychic guidance session with me, and the link is below. We can look at where your divine masculine is already awake and how to align your field to meet him there. So remember, union isn't about dragging him to where you are. It's about meeting each other in the places you're already awake and letting that frequency expand. So I'll see you all in the next discourse. I've introduced some amazing new healings. Check them out. And also, I will see you all again. And if you need any assistance, feel free to book a session with me. All right. Take care. And I hope this video inspires you to cut some slack for our beloved divine masculines. Of course, they might not do it with full awareness, but before we came to earth, that was the agreement: awakening above union. And for that to happen, you really got to trigger each other in so many different ways. And that's why, like, words like "I'm not interested in you" are actually code words to awakening. Words like "I'll never ever speak to you again," code words to awakening. All right. So with that, share your stories in the comments, and I'll see you all again. Take care. Love you all, and bye bye.